I'm getting so tired. I'm getting so.
Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Today I'm going to be telling you about this guy that I know named Cecil, that he called home one day, and he was talking to his brother, and his brother was talking to him about a conversation that Cecil had had with his daughter. You know, his daughter has started, she's a teenager, and she has started smoking weed. And that pissed Cecil off, you know, that she had started smoking weed. And he jumped on her. He jumped down her throat. He's like, why are you doing this? What's going on? And all of this and that. And he wouldn't even give her a chance to speak. And he told her, he said, I'm taking your phone from you. You know what I'm saying? And put her on punishment, you know. Now, let me give you a little background here. You know, his daughter, she's 15 years old. And Cecil has been in prison for 14 of those 15 years. So when he left, she was barely walking. You know what I'm saying? She was not really familiar with him. She got to know him through the phone, visitation, letters, pictures, cards, stuff like that, right? And she knows him as her father, but she doesn't know her father. And in the same thing, in the same tone, he doesn't know her. He doesn't really know her. And that's hard for me to say because a lot of us have been in here the duration of our children. If we have, those of us in here that have children, we've been in here for the duration of their life. You know what I'm saying? The majority of their life. I know with Montrez and Boo, they were both babies, you know, 1 and 3 years old when I left, you know, thereabouts. And I got to know them pretty much the same way that Cecil got to know his daughter, through visits, phone, pictures, things like that. And the relationship between me and my sons didn't really solidify in the way that I come to appreciate. And this is sad to say, but it wasn't until that we were all locked up together at different times, and they were my cellies. They got to know me, and I got to know them in an intimate way, like a father and son would get to know each other. You know, it's no substitute for being there. It's just not. And Cecil, he was parenting the best way he knew how. And let me give y'all a little insight. You know, most of us that come into the penitentiary, right? I had a really good model from my grandparents, both my grandparents on my father and mother's side. But my father was locked up, you know, most of my young age, you know, and then when he was out, you know, it was hit and miss. And my mother passed away, as all of you know, when I was 7. So I had my aunties, I had everybody else to look to, aunties and uncles and all this and that, but my model was mainly my grandparents. And they had good marriages as far as I knew. But as far as me being a father, knowing what to say, after I had experienced it, no, I didn't get that opportunity. I came to prison, and like I say, I learned to be a father that way. And most of the stuff that I would say to my kids was really about making sure that they still liked me and loved me. And it was more about being a friend than a parent, you know. And I think that they suffered for that because of what I did. And Cecil, he's the same way, but what he did to his daughter was a little different. And the conversation that I'm going to tell you about was between him and his brother. Because his brother, he really checked Cecil in a way that I wish I would have had somebody to check me, you know. I was a terrible parent to my 2 sons. Terrible. I admit that. I own that. And I regret that. And I'm glad that, you know, my sons are doing better now. Like I say, I've shared everything about my 2 sons with y'all. My one son has mental health issues. My other son, Boo, he's a tremendous success on this podcast, and I'm extremely proud of him, you know, for his YouTube page and all of the stuff that he does in the community and everything. and but I accept the responsibility for the path that they took because they wanted to know me, and I didn't give them the opportunity to know me in the way that they should have gotten to know me as a parent, right? Now, Cecil, like I said, he was talking to his daughter, and he was very, very aggressive with her, telling her that she was wrong, he was disappointed, this, and that, and you smoking this stuff, I'm taking your phone from you, you can't go out, you can't go to the ball games, you can't do that. He was taking everything from her. And that pattern of parenting is what he learned from how they treat us in here. If we do something, we lose something. And that sounds good in theory. I know it does to a lot of y'all out there. But it doesn't work if you don't have the concern that you should have, because you need to know why. So when Cecil was talking to his brother said, hold up. He said, I talked to your daughter, my niece, and she told me what you said to her. And Cecil's brother told him, if I would have known you were going to talk to her like that, I wouldn't have told you about it. I would have dealt with it. And this pissed Cecil off, because Cecil was like, that's my daughter. And then his brother popped back and said, that's my niece. And he said, let me just keep it real with you, bro, because I love you. You ain't been here. You haven't been the one that held her at night when she was sick. You're not the one that goes to all of her games. You're not the one that she calls when she have a problem with her girlfriends or her boyfriend at the moment. You're not here. So you trying to be her dad. Yeah, you her biological dad, and we respect that, and we want her to know you. But you haven't gotten to know her in the way that you need to know her when you get ready to discipline, so you'll know what you're doing. You just took things away from her. He told Cecil, he said, not once did you ask her what is going on with her. Why does she feel the need to smoke? Who does she get it from? Because all of the stuff that's going on out there now, the fentanyl and all this and that, you want her to be aware of what's going on, because kids are going to experiment, but you don't want her playing with her life like that. So as Cecil's brother is breaking all of these things down to him, he's sitting on the phone quiet because his feelings are hurt. He done got in his feelings because at the end of the day, his brother was keeping it real with him. He was telling him, you haven't been here. He was basically telling Cecil, you are not her father. You're not the father. You her daddy. You the biological. But you ain't been a parent to her. So when you get to talking to her in this way and that way, she feels some kind of way because you're not the one providing for her. And he told Cecil, he said, look, and another thing, he said, we're not taking her phone from her. You didn't buy that phone. You can't take it from her. He said, but what we'll do is we'll talk to her about it out of respect for you and make her understand how important this is. He said, but you don't get to do those types of things. And this threw Cecil off. It threw him into an uproar. He got so angry. He got so angry about it, he accused his own brother of sleeping with his daughter's mother. He said, what you got going on? You sleeping with her? And Cecil's brother, even though he was younger, he was much, much more mature because he was experiencing life, right? He laughed it off. He said, look, bro, he said, I'm gonna take that. But he said, you dead wrong with what you just said. He said, the reason I say these things to you is because I love my niece. And I'm not going to let you say anything to help her, or hurt her. If you ain't saying nothing to help her, then you don't need to be saying nothing. Because you need to understand what's going on with her and why she feels the need to smoke. And he said, really, I wish I would have explained this stuff to you, but I took for granted that you would know this. And he said, now I know you don't know what you're doing. And man, that made me think about Montrez and Boo. I didn't know what I was doing. But that's a hard thing for people in prison to accept. See, because we want to be a part of whatever y'all got going on out there in whatever way we can, right? But ain't no substitute for being there. And we try to create this environment to where, we can be a part of everything that you got going on in the best way that we can. But when it comes to parenting and giving advice and doing those types of things, I would ask all of you, be careful. Tread light on that. And discuss these things with the person that you're involved with that's incarcerated so that they can get a broader understanding of what is going on before they speak to the issue. Right? I remember, man, when my son, my oldest son, he had bought some drugs, right? And it was fake. And I happened to be on the phone with him and I was talking to him. And as a parent, what I was supposed to say, whether he was going to continue to do it or not was irrelevant. But what I was supposed to say is, man, you don't need to be doing that. Why do you want to be doing that, man? Talk to me. You know what I said? I said, man, let me call somebody, man, and see if I can't help you out. Think about that. Think about what I did. Just silly. So when you think about what somebody in prison is going to say to a child, you need to be censoring that. And that's what Cecil's brother was doing. He was going to be that filter in between Cecil and his niece from that point on. Because he felt like Cecil didn't get it. And Cecil's feelings were hurt because he told him the truth. But what this did is set him on a course, on a path to become a better parent to his daughter. Because now he knew that he had to engage in conversation, not idle talk. Like when you call somebody from prison, they say, hey, how you doing today? What's going on? This and that. Now you got to get in there. With them kids, you got to get in there. You got to ask the hard questions. You know, because they don't really want to talk to you because they think that they know everything. But you got to get in there. When you in the penitentiary, you got to make a greater effort at being a parent. And that's what he was having a hard time with. Because how do you do that? How do you create that intimate bond with your child when you're not there to hug them when they are crying or console them when their boyfriend breaks up with them or their friend gets in a fight with them? And it happens to be too late and you can't call or you don't know nothing about it because you can't see her when she comes home and you can see on her face, you can tell her mood is different. You can't do any of those things. You're not there. And she realizes that you're not there. So what she did for him is she understood that he was her father because as she was growing up, everybody's telling her, this is your daddy. And she sees the picture. She comes to see him. She tells him she loves him and all this and that. And when you're young, that means something. But as you get older, the kids become more dependent on the people that they know that they can depend on. And as a parent in prison, let me tell you something. This is going to be hard. They come to understand that they can't depend on you in the same way that they can depend on the ones that are there physically. It's just being blunt, y'all. It's being blunt. And that's hard for a lot of people in the penitentiary to take. So what Cecil started to do, after he got off the phone with his brother, and he called his daughter and he apologized to her. She didn't even understand why he was apologizing, so he had to explain it. And they both cried and they talked about it. And he told her he was going to make a better effort at being her daddy. Right? At being her father, at being her parent. All the things that she would need from him as the male figure in her life. Because his brother was the dominant male figure in her life. She knew that she could rely on her uncle. She knew if she called her uncle anytime, day or night, he would be there. She can't call her father anytime, day or night. She couldn't call Cecil. So she substituted her uncle for that. But now, Cecil was going to make her understand that I may not be there when you need to talk to me, but I'm here if you want to talk to me. Not just when I call. If you want to talk to me, tell somebody that you need to talk to me, and I will call ASAP. And he got her number from her phone put on his list so he could call her directly every week. And see, those are the types of things that get you involved, that show that child that you really, really have a concern for them beyond just the weekly phone call to mom and asking about how everybody's doing and trying to find out when they're going to come up to visit. And that was hard for Cecil because it made him understand that he had been derelict. He had been deficient in being a parent, and he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to be that parent. But you got to do that when you're locked up. And if you got somebody in the penitentiary that you have a child with, or you're allowing them to become that parent figure in your child's life, be careful. Be careful. You need to discuss things with them so that they'll understand how to talk to the child, so that you'll understand and know that they're not telling this child something crazy like what I did to mine, or like what Cecil was about to do to his. You understand what I'm saying? It gets real serious when you're trying to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Yeah, of course, when you're in prison, you want them to continue to love you. You want them to be your friend and all this and that. But you got a job to do as a parent. And that child ain't going to always like you. But that child will grow to respect you. Because as that child gets older, they'll come to understand that you're going to keep it 100 with them. And your interest for them is always their best interest. And not you trying to please them by doing something silly like I did by turning my sons on to my dope plug. You understand what I'm saying? Don't be stupid like I was. Because your child, listen to me, your child is the most important person in your life. I would go so far as to say that the child is more important than the husband or wife. Why is that? Because that child needs way more attention than the adult. If you got an adult in your life that needs more attention than your child, you got the wrong adult in your life. I know, don't get mad at me now. Don't get mad at me. But let me know what you think about that in the comments section, though. Tell me, am I off base here? If you're dealing with somebody in the penitentiary and they want more of your time than you can give to your child, you need to check them. You need to check them, because your child is the most important. And then you need to be careful about what you let them say to your child. You need to make sure. They might have the best interest in their opinion in mind, but here's the thing. If they don't have that capacity to understand what it means to you're going to be molding and influencing and shaping a young child's life, be careful. Remember now, you got somebody in the penitentiary that you let talk to your child. You know that person. Are you really safe and secure in allowing that individual that you've gotten to know that's in the penitentiary, right, that's going to be giving advice to your child? Are you comfortable with them doing that? Are you comfortable in knowing that they'll give them the right advice? Are you comfortable in knowing that they will be right and fair and just, and if you allow them to punish your child or discipline your child or correct your child or be a mentor to your child? Be careful of that. Cecil had the right intentions. He just had the wrong skill set to do it. And his brother checked him on that and put him on the right path. Because it's important. We got to make sure these kids are straight. Because, boy, they balling out of control out there, man. And we don't need people in prison giving them any worse advice that's going to continue to further traumatize them to the point to where they really keep wilding out. We need healing, y'all. We need some healing and hope. You understand? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.
I'm getting